Hey, what's going on, guys? It's FPL Yusuf here, and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be going over my Game Week 24 transfer plans ahead of this coming Game Week's double Game Week deadline. So I'm going to go over how we got on in Game Week 23, what my transfer plans are looking like for Game Week 24, but also we're going to cover who are the best players to bring in for this double Game Week coming up, and also some other key questions surrounding this Game Week, but also some further ones down the line too. So I hope you guys do enjoy this video, but without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for being here with me today on my YouTube channel for another video. Before we get into this one, if you guys wouldn't mind dropping a thumbs up and subscribing down below, it would be greatly appreciated. So Game Week 23 is finished now, and we'd actually had quite a good game week in total. We got 71 points all out. Our big transfer of the week was Cody Gakpo coming in for Raul Jimenez, which was a massive upswing. Obviously, he got a 16-point haul, 2 goals and assist. Salah getting a goal with the captaincy armband. Isak with a brace. So overall, very, very happy with how the game week went. A little bit unlucky with, Fulham's clean sheet wipeout towards the end. Palmer maybe could have had an assist here or there in that Man City game, but overall, we'll take a green arrow any day of the week. We're up to 1.2 million, I think it is now, so we're nearly inside that top million, which is obviously the goal now, and then obviously looking to sort of push on from there. But yeah, overall, the game week's been really solid. The transfer that we brought in last week worked, and we can't really complain too much about anything else. Okay, so before I get into my transfer plans and what I'm going to do, this coming game week, I just want to talk about a few different things surrounding double game week 24. And the first thing up is I want to start off with Everton, because I've seen a lot of talk about these guys for the double game week. And of course, rightly so, they have got a nice double. They've got Leicester at home, which is a great fixture. And then they have Liverpool at home, which isn't as much of a great fixture. But there's been a lot of talk surrounding Everton and, are their assets viable options for this coming double? Now, I think this depends on which asset you're bringing in what position. So we'll start off in goal first. I'm going to give you a little bit of a spoiler. I have brought Jordan Pickford in myself. So we'll start off with him first. Now, I think he is, out of all of the ones you're bringing in from Everton, I think he is the one that you'd want to go for. He has a game in 29, so you don't have to worry about, your goalkeeper blanking or anything like that. Everton have got decent fixtures from now till then, till game week 29. After, once we hit game week 30, I think the fixtures do swing a little bit, but then by then you'd probably want to come off of him. I think a lot of people probably would wildcard around that time anyway. He's so consistent. I think he's the second highest keeper this season, or third highest. He's right up there in terms of points. He usually does get save points for Everton. Has a penalty save in him as well, which always is handy to have. And I think at the price that he's currently at, which is 5 million, I think it's actually quite decent value for money. Obviously, the first game up against Leicester is the big one. That's the one you're hoping for the clean sheet, maybe a couple of save points, a couple of bonus points, and then obviously they go into a game against Liverpool. But I don't think that Liverpool game is as easy as what we all think it will be. Obviously it's the last Merseyside derby at Goodison Park, so Everton are probably going to want to win that just as much as Liverpool will. I think both teams have got their own reasons to want to get that win, and of course in the derby we never truly know what's going to happen. So yeah, for me, I think if I was numbering them, I think Pickford would be my number one, closely followed by Vitaly Mikalenko, who I think now is currently 4.4 million. So I think he's still a decent option. If he's going to be your fifth defender, then I have no problems with this at all. You can bring him in for the double game week. Hopefully he takes advantage of the game against Leicester. The Liverpool game is just an added bonus. And then after that, you can kind of sort of chop and change him depending on when Everton actually have good fixtures. For most people, I think bringing him in, he will be their fifth defender. So you're more than likely going to want to rotate him with other players. Iliman Ndiaye is the last player that I'm going to talk about, because obviously at the time of recording, we don't know what's happening with Calvert-Lewin. But I will put Calvert-Lewin in this boat as well. The attack for me is just a complete no-go. I know people, I look at the Leicester game in particular. For me, I don't see any sort of upside with the Everton attack at all. I think they're not, a free scoring team like we've seen Bournemouth over the last weeks, like Liverpool are. They are a team who, will probably end up scoring 1, maximum maybe 2 goals a game. Iliman Ndiaye's numbers as well, as you can see with his expected goals and expected assists, is just really, really below par. And, I think most defenders, Gabriel, Milenkovic, these type of guys have got higher expected goals than him. Now, I know, football's not always about stats, and, you have to do watch the player. When you watch Iliman Ndiaye play, he's a very good football player. But for me personally, if Calvert-Lewin's out as well, he probably will be on penalties, as we saw him take one last week. But for me, I'm just not a fan of the Everton attack. So when it comes to Everton, I think Pickford would be my number one. That would be the one that I would say, okay, if you're going to get a double and, you want to try and take advantage of this game week, get him. Mikalenko, again, I don't mind him. If you're going to rotate him as your fifth defender, yes. If you're relying on him after this game week as one of your starters, I probably wouldn't go there. And Iliman Ndiaye / Calvert-Lewin, depending on what his injury's like, for me, it's a complete stay away. Okay, so now on to their rivals and their counterparts who also have a double game week, and that's Liverpool. So I think there will be a lot more interest around the Liverpool assets. I'm not going to include Salah and Trent in this. I'll put them on screen, but we're not going to talk too much about them, because I think most people will probably have them. If you haven't got one of them for either reason, Salah's number one, Trent would be number 2 for me. it's the third spot I think a lot of people are talking about. I think Gakpo's a consideration for some, Konate's a consideration for some, Alisson's a consideration for some. So there's a few different talking points, even Van Dijk to a certain extent as well. So I think there's a lot more talking points with Liverpool than there are with Everton. So we'll start with Alisson in goal first. For me, he probably would be last on this list. And the reason why is because I think a lot of us think that there's quite a high chance that Liverpool are going to blank. They obviously are losing 1-0 in the Carabao Cup to Tottenham. Obviously, they've got that game in between game week 24 and 25. So by the time we get to game week 25, we'll know who's actually going through to the final. But with the way Spurs are playing and the fact that it's at Anfield, I don't think a lot of us are holding out much hope that Spurs are going to be able to stop that Liverpool side. So I would say it's 90% sure that Liverpool will overturn that deficit and go through, which if that is the case, you are now there without a goalkeeper. Now, I know most people will have Fabianski on the bench, but as we saw from the weekend, Areola did start in goal. So I think that's what would put me off of Alisson. I know he's a nice route into the Liverpool defence for the price he is, but I just think that come game week 29, if you're not planning to free hit, that's going to be a problem later down the line for you. The centre-backs in Van Dijk and Konate. Now, I think for me personally at this one, money does talk. And I'm always big in, sort of prioritising, the expensive players because they are worth the money. As we see for Trent, even though Liverpool conceded, on the weekend, he still managed to get another assist, which I believe that's 7 attacking returns for him this season, which, in 22 games I think he's played is actually not too bad, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think for me on this one, I think I would just save the money and go for Konate. Obviously there is more of a doubt with him with injuries, with minutes. Liverpool do have a Champions League game on Wednesday this week. So if you can hold off on making a transfer, I really would advise you to hold that because, if Van Dijk gets injured or Konate gets injured or something happens, you're going to want to hold that just to wait and see. So yeah, I would just hold off. But for me personally, I would prioritize Konate just above Van Dijk. I think Van Dijk at the start of the year had a lot of attacking threat with him from corners, but I haven't really seen it so much over the last few months. And I just think with the extra money, it's almost $1 million plus more. I just think that money could probably be better suited elsewhere. So for me, if you are looking to double up on the defense, alongside Trent, I think I would go for Konate just for the saving of the price. But if you are looking for an attacking player, then it's going to be this man that I'm about to talk about, and that's Cody Gakpo, who is going to be my number one target behind Trent and Salah. Now, Gakpo for me, a lot of us bought him in last week, myself included. I wanted to target the Ipswich fixture because I knew that there would be chances there for him. It was sort of a comparison between him and Luis Diaz. And the reason why I went for Gakpo over him is one, because I feel like Gakpo is just getting more chances in this Liverpool team. When I watched them, the data suggested that Gakpo is just getting more XG, more XA than Luis Diaz. I think Diaz is kind of in this team to play a role. He's making runs in behind, he's drawing defenders away. But the problem is you don't get FPL points for that, and it will be Salah and Gakpo who are the ones who have benefited from it. So that's the reason why I sort of chose Gakpo over Diaz. I just think his minutes are a little bit more secured as well. Darwin, if he is going to come in, will probably play through the middle, which will be a rotation with Luis Diaz, whereas Gakpo's kind of be out on the left-hand side. Now, I know he did get brought off in about the 67th minute against Ipswich, but the game was already done. He got himself a brace and an assist. He already racked up the points, and that is what he can do. I think the early sub, there was a few of them. I think Szoboszlai got brought off early. So it wasn't just Gakpo, but I think that was just solely down to the match day and the fact that, Liverpool were 4-0 up at that point. So yeah, for me, if I'm ranking the Liverpool assets in order, obviously Salah's number 1, Trent number 2. For that third spot, I would go Gakpo first, followed by Konate, Van Dijk, and unfortunately Alisson would be my last pick on that one. Okay, so I just want to touch on some other questions. And the first one that I've been seeing a lot is about the Bournemouth midfielders. Now, obviously, they are just on fantastic form at the moment. We saw the way they played against Newcastle. We saw them just absolutely destroy Nottingham Forest, who not a lot of teams have done that to this year. I think Arsenal are the only ones who have actually managed to beat them by a strong scoreline. I think Arsenal, when they played them at the Emirates, was about 3-0, but Bournemouth really do look good. Now, there's the three main ones, the three main talking points that obviously everyone's talking about is Kluivert, Ouattara, and Semenyo. Now, which ones do you go for? Do you double up? I think for me personally, if I'm buying, I would probably wait for this week to go. Obviously, they've got a game against Liverpool, which, obviously Bournemouth can score against them. Especially when they're at home, they are a really, really good side. But I think for me on this one, I would probably just wait for the 25 entry point. Bournemouth have got Southampton, and for me personally, that's one that I'm looking to target with a double up of them of Kluivert and Ouattara. Now, it's hard to pick between all three of them because obviously, Bournemouth kind of rely on them three in the front. I just think Ouattara, for me, he's playing up front as a midfielder at 5 million. I think whilst Evan Nilsson and Nuno are out, I think that's such a high upside pick, which I kind of want to take advantage of. And then Kluivert, for me, just gets the pick over Semenyo only because he's got the penalties in his locker. So for me personally, if I'm ranking the Bournemouth midfielder, I would go Ouattara 1 because he's a midfielder down as a striker. Clivert takes a 2 spot because he's got the penalties. And Semenyo, if you've already got him, there's no point in trying to transfer to another one. Just hold him. You know, he's a fine pick. You know, still a very good price. But I just think for me personally, the other two would just have maybe a slighter more upside than he would. Cole Palmer. Now, we touched on this last week about him and about whether we should sell him, whether we should not. I think if you've still got him, you know, you didn't sell him last week, definitely don't sell him now. You're going to have to use a transfer to take him out. And then game week 27 and 28, I think he plays Leicester and Ipswich back-to-back at home games. And you're going to want him in there. Like, he's probably going to be a good captaincy shot that game week. So for me personally, I know it's frustrating. You know, he probably could have come away with something against that City game. Maybe an assist. You know, he overcooked a pass to Jackson, which was a little bit disappointing. But I think for me, if you've already sold Cole Palmer, then you just hold it out for the next couple of weeks and bring him back for 27. But if you haven't got rid of him before the Man City game, I don't really see much point in trying to take him out for 2 game weeks, only then to bring him back in for, you know, 27 and 28. So yeah, Cole Palmer for me, definitely a keep. Other Chelsea assets, maybe you could look at Madueke, maybe Jackson, you know, if you've got a free striker spot. But no, I think Cole Palmer is the only Chelsea asset in the attack that I'd be looking at, and he's a definite hold for me. And finally, the last thing I want to talk about is just what to do with the Newcastle assets. Now, Isak is just a straight hold. There's not even a contemplation there. There's no other strikers that I would really look at, so just keep him. Gordon and Lewis Hall, I think, are the 2 others that most people will have. For me personally, I think there's a question and definitely something surrounding them which, you know, you could make an argument to sell. Now, for me personally, in game week 25, I probably will be selling Anthony Gordon for one of the Bournemouth midfielders, and I am considering selling Lewis Hall this week for Konate, but I'm going to get onto that in the next section. I think Newcastle are just starting to leak a few goals here and there, and I think as good as they are going forward, I do think Newcastle, that's the one thing with them, they're always susceptible to just losing the clean sheet. Now, Lewis Hall obviously does have an upside with attacking threat with you know, his assist down that left-hand side, but he's not going to do that every game. You know, I think we can really rely on him to keep bringing out an assist every week to try and make up for the fact that they're losing clean sheets. So Lewis Hall, I don't mind the idea of selling. Anthony Gordon, again, same thing. You know, I think a lot of people will be looking to move to Brian and Burmo soon, one of the Bournemouth midfielders, like I said. So, yeah, I think for me, there are maybe other midfielders who are a little bit cheaper and have maybe just a little bit more of a higher upside. I think Gordon had his good run, you know, where he's returning, I think it was 6 in 7 games. So he's done that now. And I think now it's probably time just to shift on after this game week to look to someone new. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below. I will be back tomorrow with an FPL challenge video, and I will be back on about maybe Thursday evening, Friday morning with a final team selection video. I will confirm all my transfers for you guys, but if you guys do want a even quicker update, just feel free to drop me a follow on Twitter. I'll leave a link to it in the description down below where you guys can keep up to date with me and ask me any questions you've got about my team, about your team, anything related to FPL in general. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below, and I'll catch you guys next time.